What is good, y'all? We are back for another episode of Get With It. I am your co-host, Camille Buxeda, a.k.a. Killer Cam.
And I'm your co-host, Jayani Smith, a.k.a. J Money.
We're back for another episode. We've got so much going on, so we're going to go ahead and get right into it. We're going to skip the weekend huddle because, listen, there is enough going on in the scene. We got to just get right into it. And we've got a special guest later who is about to drop some gems on y'all because she did on us. You know, it's amazing. So we'll go ahead and get right into it. But we got to talk WNBA playoff race. I mean, we had some great games this past week.
Great. I'm a little bit upset.
I know.
Predictions didn't go as planned. Storm took the Mystics out with a sweep. Mm-hmm. Didn't even make it back to DC. Didn't even get to see a game. But
hurts.
On the other hand, I think that they might be trying to put something together for Sue. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, listen, I haven't seen the Storm looking that crisp in a bit, and they're looking right. Like, I think this, which we're about to say right now, they're about to face off in the Aces in the semifinals. To me, that could be the finals. You know, that is the two of the best teams playing their best basketball yet. Sue was going off. Like, she had like that energy she did like 10 years ago. I'm like, damn, Sue, you need to retire?
Sure? Yeah,
One more year? Part two? Because, I mean, we could do that.
Always Tom Brady us, yeah.
Yeah, you could Tom Brady us any time of the day. Like, we will happily have you back. But yeah, the Storm are looking good. I think the Mystics, they couldn't find consistency fully throughout the year with some injuries here and there and having everyone on the court. But if you keep this crew, Jayani's getting a call. Don't worry, she's popular.
I don't even know how that happens oh, shit.
Don't worry about it. But the Mystics, though, they come back with this crew next year. They're looking top because that crew, they've got a solid lineup.
Group. They definitely
got a solid crew. They got a solid lineup. I don't see why not they wouldn't be, even better next year with a more consistent, potentially more healthy team.
Definitely.
That plays together a little bit more consistently. Exactly. So I'm excited for the Mystics next year. There are a lot of teams I'm excited for next year, and including, I'm skipping over the Aces because they just sweeped them. I don't really know what's going on with Phoenix. Are we going to see Skylar in a Phoenix jersey?
Probably
I don't know.
not.
Like, I don't really know what's going on there. So I'm going to just, next one. The next one I'm excited for, my New York girls. Listen. I went to that game at Barclays last night. Chicago was clearly the better team. They were the veteran team. You could see that, but you give this New York team an off season, everyone healthy, because Benizer just came back.
She just came back.
She's not 100% yet. You gave everyone a chance to come back, be healthy, and play together for a full season. Don't count them out on the playoffs.
In there.
Don't count. Literally, what does Sabrina say? She go, why not us? Why not them next year? Because listen, there's likely a chance they might get another piece in this offseason. Teams got to be scared for New York. I'm telling y'all, be scared for my girls. Because listen, them winning that first game against Chicago, like it was nothing.
Yeah, and then that had me on the edge of my seat.
Yes. And they stayed in there last night. The Barclays was bumping. Like the girls were.
The crowd was going crazy. Yeah,
the crowd was going crazy. It was lit. It was lit. Genuinely, like, it got me excited for next season because, like, I know we keep saying next year. This is the first time in Sabrina's career in the W that we've seen her fully healthy, going at 100, like being Sabrina. Maureen Johannes. If that girl is not signed to a contract this year, I have some beef to pull with Sandy Brondello. I don't know where she's at, but I'll find her number.
She gonna get her on the phone.
I'm choking so much. I'm heated about it.
Listen, I'm famous for stalking people, so I'll find her phone number or something. We can talk. We can figure something out. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for New York's future. I think they've got a really bright one. Z-Way was at the game last night. I screamed, I cried. All the feels were felt because Z-Way is one of my favorites. If y'all don't watch Z-Way's show, go watch the interview she did with Chet Hanks. Probably one of the funniest things I've ever, like, sadly funny because, like, the fact that man thinks that way. Just a genius. She's a genius.
I know we've talked about her. I have to go catch an episode though, so that's assignment for me and everybody, all our listeners.
Please, it is some of the best comedy writing I've ever seen because it's like so relevant to where we're at right now, where all these social topics are really like at the forefront, where it's in parts of people's discussions, like people think about it. Where before it was just like, oh, well, that's how, like, no.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with me.
She's out here to expose people and I'm with it. Like,
you know we're always here for the exposing. Okay. She got time.
She got time. So, yeah, it was a great one. But we got another game 3 tonight. Dallas and Connecticut. What are you thinking, Jay?
I'm gonna have to go with Connecticut. Although, I think it was yesterday I saw, my days are running together. Is Arike playing? Did they announce? They said she's probable.
She's back.
Oh, she's back. Okay.
She's probable. She's probable. Probable is what the word was said, but
okay.
She's not missing out on this game 3. She's a dog. I know her. She wants to play in that game more than anybody else.
Yeah, I was about to say, even if she is a little bit hurt, like she's probably like, I'm gonna figure this out. Like I can't go out like that.
Exactly.
I don't know. I want to say Connecticut, but I also would love to see just like Dallas pull this off.
That'd be crazy. Like if Dallas pulled that shit off,
yeah, that would be insane. So I might have to go with the underdog. Yeah, my gut goes Connecticut, but I might have to go with the underdog.
I know it's hard for me because I think Connecticut's the better matchup for Chicago. I just want semifinals. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm thinking ahead, you know. I'm thinking some playoff games. But you're right. I could see
for
Dallas.
I
could see Dallas surprising a lot of people, including myself. So we'll see. I'm excited for tonight's game. It's gonna be lit. Back in Dallas too. They got the home court advantage. So, you know, I hope that city turns up for them because it's the first. I'm pretty sure it's like their first. No, they just got their first playoff win in like franchise history or some crazy shit like that. I did not know that because like they had Liz and Skylar. I'm like, how did you not get to the playoffs before? What?
For the entire time that they've been in existence, I didn't know that was a thing. I knew that
think it's just since they've been in Dallas. Actually, I don't know. I guess franchise would be. I don't know.
That's crazy. We gotta fact check that one.
We gotta fact check that one because that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. But you know, before we get into our guests today, we do got to talk a little bit about this past weekend. Slam Summer Classic.
Slam
Summer Classic volley. I know. We missed you. I was literally like, this is Charlie, the new Jayani. We missed Jay, though. Love you, Charlie.
I'm coming next year. I don't even care.
Charlie's the GOAT. You gotta make it out next year because this year was lit. We got to be back outside the first year in 3 years since 2019. It was just incredible.
Had some stars pull up.
Mm-hmm. Lala was there. We had
Julius Randle.
Julius Randle came out. Cole Anthony, Jose Alvarado. Like stars came out. I mean, listen, Rucker Park. I will say, like, I love Dykeman, but I kind of love the setup of Rucker. Like, it just allows you to move. You can have, you know, courtside seats and so much more of like the event stuff that like I think makes it a better fit. But I think it was the best girls game we've ever had, easily, hands down, like not even a question. Like the best girls game we've ever had in the sense of like so much talent on both sides. Like we had a team draft and I'm not gonna lie, I picked Team Black to win. They had a lot of the USA girls. I'm like, they looking nice. Anyone could shock you. Juju and Malaysia did their thing. Malaysia came in and dropped 31 points at Rucker Park. Juju dropped 28. Like,
and I love how like they were getting spicy with the crowd. Like it was great. I was feeling all the vibes all the way from back home in DC. So
it was awesome, man. I mean, like you had Hannah Hidalgo going between the legs and one. That shit went viral. Jalen Jacoby just went over. Yo.
Oh wait, I didn't even peep that. Okay.
Jayani, pull it up. No, pull it up right now. I'm making you do it right now. Go to WSLAM's Instagram. It's in there. Okay, wait.
Oh, I see.
She went. She went between. Yo, the whole crowd was bumping. Like, it was crazy. Shit went viral. Hannah Hidalgo's a bucket.
Everybody in the crowd's going crazy.
Hannah Hidalgo is a bucket.
Nuts. That's nuts.
It was they were head tapping. Like I was like, we outside.
No, literally, we outside.
It was crazy. Yo, Hannah Hidalgo's one to look out for. There were dogs on both sides. Like Talia Scott had her moment, won the 3-point shoot. Girl was not missing. Jada did her thing. Jada's a bucket. We know that. But not only that, she needs her own TV show.
I saw Jada Cam.
Whatever it is. Yeah, and we for the first time ever we did a co-ed 2v2, which was I thought really cool because we we never really get to marry like boys and girls in terms of like really like, yeah, they're together the whole weekend, but everything else is kind of separate. So it was cool to be able to do something like that. Jada and Jared McCain actually won the 2v2. And Jada was crazy. So on her side of the bracket, I ain't know this until it happened. So everyone listening, yeah. 26AR, he's a rapper from New York. I don't know. He wanted to play. So they matched him up with one of the extra boys because I guess there was an extra boy who wasn't originally supposed to come. It came last minute. Anyways, so Jada was matched up against 26AR. Like, that's who she was locking up. Let me just say.
Is he any good?
Yeah, he's actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I literally watched that matchup. I'm like, he better not beat my girl. And she was not backing down for nothing. I was like, she's a dog. That was crazy. I was watching that matchup and I was like, that's why.
Put on for the girls, period.
Yeah, put on for the girls. Because that shit was spicy. But it was a good weekend, really good weekend all around. I mean, we got to watch some of the best players go at it against each other, before their senior years. And I'm really excited for that, excited for this crew. And excited to go bigger and better from here. I mean, Jada DJ'd the tour bus back home from Times Square. I had a phone almost ripped out from my hand because a tree branch.
The bus stories are always the best.
The bus gets a little crazy. And we're driving back from Harlem all the way down to Times Square. It's lit though. People were chasing the bus. It's the vibes. Yeah. It's everything that Volume 2 gave and more this year. So
it's only up from here.
100%. And shout out to everyone that came through, all the players, all the families. Thank you guys so much for coming. And everyone that came out to watch. I mean, listen, just another install in the greatest game, the greatest outdoor game, that we get to witness every year. So I'm very, very excited for the years to come.
And we have a great guest joining us today. I mean, talking about outdoor hoops from straight out of New York, Jordan Nixon.
Straight out of Harlem. We have a really special guest with us today, Texas A&M standout, NCAA standout, but more than that, a creative, and born and raised in New York City. So we had to have her on the podcast. So big shout out and welcome to Jordan Nixon. How you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've had such an incredible career. But I want to kind of start, and we want to start from the beginning. I think I'm currently in Bed-Stuy. I've been here for about almost 7 years now. I'm not a New Yorker yet. I know that's like
not yet.
I don't think, but it's fine. Exactly, a little more time. But what were some of your earliest memories of growing up in a city, and especially Harlem, such a creative place with so much art and entertainment and everything and everywhere you go?
Honestly, it was a bit like skewed, to be honest. Like I didn't truly embrace all the richness of like New York City culture or culture in Harlem until I was out of it. It's like you get so accustomed to it that you don't even appreciate it. So then when I get to college and I'm like, I'm looking around, I'm in the Midwest, like in South Bend, Indiana. I'm like, y'all are like everybody's so different from me. And I really started to just understand like, no, New York City has groomed me in such a way that's like, I think differently, I move differently, I speak differently, I have an accent, right? Like I don't think I do. And it really comes out when I'm mad. But all in all, I guess I just have a lot of memories of just like being out, like literally just growing up and being accustomed to chaos, accustomed to seeing all different kinds of people, doing all different kinds of things. And that variety has played a big part in like shaping me. But just that's like the grand scheme. There's so many little things that I could probably point to, but we're on limited time, so I'll resist.
No, we could go for days. Seriously,
we could go for days. We could go for days. But yeah, that's really it.
What would you say has been like what would you say is your first memory of picking up a basketball and like growing up in New York? Do you think that played a part in like your first memory or how that shaped your kind of experiences when you first started playing the game?
No way. Okay, so I didn't start playing basketball like competitively like on a team until I was 10, 11. But my cousins were always outside. I live across the street from a park, so I was always in Morningside. I wasn't good at basketball. Soccer was my sport. That was my thing. Basketball was I guess there was some raw talent there, but like I said, I mean, I was bad. It was bad. And I guess my most vivid memory is when like those days when I really started to take basketball seriously. And I'd be on YouTube in the morning. And then when my mom or whoever said I could go outside, I'd have my notes, like the different moves that I wanted to work on, like cross between, between cross, or, in and out crossover or something like that. So I just go outside and I just start working on them and just repping them, I guess. And yeah, that's pretty, those are my most vivid memories.
I mean, it's funny because we just had Summer Classic this past weekend. So, and we played at Rucker Park this year, different, to years past. And we're driving down in the double decker and we're driving down Fifth Avenue. I don't remember what the cross street was. We're like at 120, 130, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
There's a huge jazz festival block party.
Was it
and
Harlem
there's
Week?
a band. I think it might have been because there was when we were driving up, the blocks were already closed off. But on the way back, there was a whole band on one of the stoops.
Yeah, it gets lit in Harlem in the summer.
Beautiful. One of the most beautiful things to see. Again, like that combination of, and again, it's like basketball meeting culture, right? We have all these players doing this, but you talk about playing outside. Hooping outdoors in New York City is a staple. Like it's unlike any other.
It's just what you do.
So it's what you do. And so talk a little bit about how hooping outside and learning to play outside almost built you a little different, right? So when you start playing at a competitive level, because I always say, New Yorker, hey, we have this debate all the time. Where are the toughest hoopers from? And you know where my answer is. But our staff, the DMV crew over here has got something to say about it. But
we'll leave it alone.
I'm gonna stay off the topic because we got New York, so I'm showing love. We got New Yorker here today, so I'm showing love. But I'm gonna sit this one out.
Appreciate the love. But I mean, again, it's not even something you think about because it's just what you do. You go outside and you play basketball. It is so hard to get a gym in New York City. You have to know somebody who knows somebody who has the keys. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, oh yeah, we're going to the gym today. No, we're going outside. If we get a gym, we get a gym. If we don't, it doesn't stop the show. So as far as building that toughness, I mean, it just is what it is. There's no reps outside. It's not a controlled environment. Some days you going outside, you think your shot is, cash, whatever. You go outside, you on a double rim.
Yeah, that double rim is no joke. That double rim will humble you real quick. Yeah, you will really get humbled.
Or let's say it's a windy day. You're like, oh yeah, this cash short. Don't even hit the rim. Like you're fighting the elements, or but you kind of just roll with it. And those are little things that you really don't think about when you're in a gym because hey, like I'm on a gun. I'm on this. You running outside to get your rebound. It's 90 degrees, but you don't want to go upstairs, so you're staying outside and you're working out and you're doing this and I feel like those days, I didn't know what I was doing outside. I was just outside, just playing, thinking I was doing something for real, training, bring my little cones out. But
I was going to say, it sounded like you were self-trained a little bit.
Yeah, it's like I'm thinking bootstrapping, but I'm just making things up because I'm thinking like, okay, got to prepare. My first season at AAU wasn't until 7th grade. So I'm outside thinking I'm preparing, doing the thing. I get out in AAU and I'm like, damn. I don't know what I thought I was doing or what I thought I had going on. But that toughness piece. I mean, you playing with the boys as well. Like that goes without saying. There's not a whole lot of girls outside. And then if there is one, it's like, oh yeah, let them play against each other, but maybe not on the same skill level, whatever the case. So I just have fond memories of playing outside, and that's what that's what I do. That's what I did, and I loved it.
I mean, when you talked a little bit about playing and competing against the different elements, like all I could think about was like sort of how you build a grit towards the adversity you face, like going to different arenas, playing against, an arena where it's super loud or there's a bunch of death behind the court. And it's like, how do I adjust my shot? Like those are things that you kind of already grew up having to play against or having to adjust to like since a kid. So that
don't
probably
even think about it.
Yeah, it's just something that while everybody else is freaking out and shooting around like, oh shit, like what am I? Like you're like, all right, it's cool. Like if my shot don't fall the first couple of times, I know how to adjust because I've been there, done that type of thing.
Yeah. No, it's true.
No, that's huge. That ability to adjust is something that a lot of players never even get a chance to develop well enough, and that ends up essentially hurting them. But I mean, talking about those games and those do you ever play at one of the parks in New York, like one of the famous? You ever play at Rucker?
Like Rucker, yeah. I played at Rucker. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
It's like
you got a favorite memory from it?
I guess when I played in there the first time, I was like, yo, like this is wild. But not recently, this was years ago. But the summer after my freshman year, I played in like a women's league. And we ended up winning the championship. It was like basketball beauties or whatever. But I think our championship game was, I don't know, I want to say on a Friday. So it was Friday night and the sun's going down. Like it's that time of night. It's the game, whatever. People obviously coming out because it's a championship. And I think I had like 27 points, but we won the championship and I got MVP, but it was electric. I'm not even gonna lie. Like it was just, all my family was outside. Everybody, it felt like home. It felt good. But it also feels intimate when you play in those environments, even though it's big, even though, there are a lot of people around, like it feels like everybody's in this closed quarters in a way. And it's amazing.
I got chills hearing you talk about it because it is
fire.
real. There's something so special about watching the sunset. You hear the train in the background, like everybody's just hype and watching the game. Everyone's zoned in. Yeah. And it feels so like uncommercialized. I don't know how to say it, but like
it's like
you
raw.
watch the pro. It's raw. It's real.
It's pure.
It's pure. That's a good way to put it. That's a very good way to put it. Pure. Because that doesn't exist that much. That's why you're the writer here. We'll get into all that. The writer.
Thank you.
But there's so very few moments in this game that sometimes gets cluttered with, especially nowadays with social media and all the other parts to it.
For sure.
Feels pure, and playing at some of those parks, it just feels so pure. And so kind of going a little bit along your journey, you end up deciding to go to Notre Dame. What ended up kind of making that decision, or what was the decision maker for you? And you wrote about it in your article for Anscape, but I'd love to just hear it from you, how you in your mind was able to get to a point where you said, okay, something's got to change and I got to do it for me.
Okay. So you're saying, okay, so why I chose to leave Notre Dame or why I chose to go in?
Why you chose to go Notre Dame and then why you chose to leave. Yeah.
So why I chose to go. So I had 5 schools, like at the end of it. I had more schools, but obviously dwindled down to 5. Ohio State, Georgia, University of Georgia, University of Virginia, UCLA, Notre Dame. So I decided to take all 5 of my visits because I'm very thorough. Like I needed to be certain. I didn't want to wonder what if I, loved Virginia? What if I loved Ohio State? Like, no, every visit was going to be taken. So Notre Dame was my 3rd visit. And they kind of entered in the mix late because they had a point guard. A lot of people Jenna Brown was committed there and then she decommitted and then they were like, oh, you. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. But I didn't expect necessarily to love Notre Dame. I just wanted to take the visit because why not? It's Notre Dame. Do it. Do the visit.
Yeah.
So I take the visit and I'm comfortable, but I'm not even thinking about it. Like my reflection typically happened past the visit. So I get on the plane and I have this book. It's called 5, but it encourages you to think about your life in 5 years or 5 years down the road. So I'm doing it. I'm a goals person. So I'm doing the book and I'm thinking like, well, Notre Dame will get me here. Notre Dame. And I'm like, oh my God. So my parents are sitting next to me on the plane. I just start crying. And they're like, what? Like, why are you crying? What is the problem? I'm like, I want to go to Notre Dame. So I ended up taking the last 2 visits because I couldn't just do that. And I finished all of them and it's okay, decision-making time. And I'm fighting myself on what I feel. Like everything in me was like, go there. That is the place you need to be. I'm like, but what, the other schools, they've been there, they this, they that. And Niel and Muffet came to see me and they answered like one of my questions and they were getting into their car. I literally ran out of my school and I was like, is it okay if I commit? Like whatever. Like my mom's on the phone. It was so dramatic. It was like one of those things out of movies. So it was a really cool moment. But like I said, everything in me said, go to Notre Dame. Fast forward through the year from hell. Fast forward. And I had an experience that I could have never anticipated. Like it just, everything that I thought about myself, everything that I knew to be true about Jordan as a person, Jordan as a basketball player was like villainized, being like, it just seemed like everything that I was, my lack of emotion on the court was misinterpreted as like arrogance or something, like just, it just didn't make sense. And I don't know what I looked like at that time, in the sense I felt like, I don't know what other people saw in me or about me, but I knew me, and I'm like, well, none of these things are true. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to combat it though. So, and I talk a lot more about that experience in the self-interview series that I just did, because I wanted to tell the Jordan Nixon story, right?
Yeah.
So,
plug it. We need everybody here. Go watch. Yeah, go listen. Go watch.
That's where you get it. But leaving. So I ended up leaving, but that's only after I returned. I came back for my sophomore year, even though my freshman year was turbulent, distressing, traumatic, all the things. But then another situation happened where I was accused of telling a recruit not to come to the school. Why would I tell a recruit not to come to the school and then show up to the school? That doesn't make sense. Yeah. But it just felt like it was a lost situation. And my mom, I still wanted to stay because I'm like, I can't let this beat me. I can't let it. I have to do it. I have to do it. And my mom was like, no, I'm vetoing you. I'm making an executive decision. She literally said that. So that's what happened. But it's not that I wanted to necessarily leave Notre Dame. I didn't. It just felt like maybe I should. Maybe it's the best thing. Maybe it's okay to change your mind, or it's okay to pivot, even if people say what they say about it. Oh, she couldn't make it in there. Oh, this, oh, that. Like, it wasn't about any of that. It was more just about me and my stability, I guess, is the best way to say it.
I mean, and that's why I feel like people like shade or hate on the transfer portal so much. I encourage it. I'm sorry. You're telling a 17-year-old girl to make a life-changing decision about, and not only that, you're not even fully grown yet. Like, we can get into the psychology of it all, but your brain doesn't even fully grow until you're 25. Exactly. So you're not even, like, you're maybe about halfway there, and you're expected to make this decision, and you're evolving all at the same time. And not only that, but again, like you mentioned, you're coming from New York City. You talk a certain way. You have a certain because it's the swag that that comes with you from being from this city. I know. And then you go to a place that maybe doesn't necessarily accept that. So what is that? What are you left to do with, other than, hey, this decision didn't work out for me. It's time to move on to the next, and that's okay.
Time to move on.
And it's so interesting because, and I kind of like almost want to ask you a little bit about it. You talk about, that difficult year, and then not necessarily like you wanting to, when your mom told you, hey, like, I'm vetoing you, it's time. Were you relieved at all? Or was it something where you were like, okay, maybe this is right, since someone else is telling me, like, because sometimes you don't even see it when you're so in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
No, when she said it, I was like, because it took so much convincing for me to go back into that space, the space that I associated with so much, just, oh my gosh, just, I don't even know the words for it that I haven't already said. But when she said it, I'm like, okay, thank you. Like, looking back on it, was a thank you for making this decision for me, because I wouldn't have been able to make it for myself. So thanks, Mom. Basically, thanks, Mom.
Shout out to Mom.
Shout out to Mom. Always shout out Mom.
But yeah, no, I think that the whole transfer process and how much strength, honestly, it takes. Like, I feel like so many players are looked at as weak when they decide to transfer or walk away from a situation that no longer serves them anymore. And honestly, like, the strength that it takes to walk away from something like that you love, that, like you said, like, you had went on all these visits, you went to Notre Dame and fell in love with it, and like, this decision I came to on my own, and then it's like, whoa, hold on a second. This isn't, like, I made the decision and now it's not working out. Like, for you to be able to realize that and then have to make the decision for yourself to change or pivot to do something that better serves you, to put yourself in a better situation, that takes a lot of strength and vulnerability. Like, the media, your parents, the coaches, your teammates, like, there's just so many other parties involved, and there's just a lot of pressure on you. Like, I don't think that gets talked about enough. And so
I agree.
Just someone like you being able to share your story about that and be so vulnerable to talk about that process is so important, because the way the as much shit as players get for it, like I don't think anybody's looking at it from the other side of like how
Oh,
much
no.
it actually takes.
Like if
Not
it were
at all.
you,
Come
if
to
it were
that.
you, if it were your kid, like you would want them to do
You're
the same
snatching
thing.
your kid up out of there
Yeah,
quick,
Oh, yeah.
fast, in a
out,
hurry.
like, we're not doing that today. And so
For sure.
you end up, leaving Notre Dame. At that point, because I know, I mean, we'll get into your article a little bit more specifically, but at that point, had it crossed your mind, maybe basketball isn't for me? Or was it just fully, you were still like in the game, you just knew that place wasn't for you?
Child, I hated it. I did. And but in all of that, the timeline went, I came back to school on like a Sunday. We had the meeting where I was accused of saying what whatever the accusation was made that Monday. I left on a Thursday. My dad literally came to get me. I snuck away like a thief in the night. It was crazy.
Wow.
Then it wasn't that weekend, but I think that next week we took a visit because the transfer portal, like you get in and now people calling your phone, like, what's the moves? What's the vibes? But before then, in May is when this supposed event occurred.
Mm-hmm.
I was at USA trials and I made the team. So I was on the USA team, but I had training camp. So this happened mid-June. I had training camp July 5th. So I had 3 weeks between my transfer, I committed to A&M a week after, 2 weeks to training camp. And I'm outside and I'm so mentally like just through. I'm through. But I don't know how to say maybe I shouldn't participate in USA, because for my mom and then for the people around me, it was like, no, show them, prove, yourself, prove your worth, prove this. And I was like, okay, I'm following what I'm completely neglecting what it is that I'm feeling. But it took so much for me to go outside and work out, to do anything. I had nothing to give to anybody. But I was doing it because that's what was expected. And I didn't want to go to USA feeling, how I was feeling. But then I ended up doing so. I had a sinus infection. I was mentally, emotionally, all the things. So I'm sick, physically sick, emotionally done. And that's when, and I say this in the series I did, Jeff Walls literally called me a dud. And I'm not even mad. I ain't mad, because I was. There was nothing about me that said, I belong on this team. And I was able to pull it together in those 4 days for trials. That's completely different. But we're talking 2-a-days. We're talking being with your teammates. We're talking conditioning. It's training camp. This is not fluff. We are trying to win a gold medal. We are wearing USA across our chest. Like there was nothing. There was no Jordan Nixon. There was no essence. There was no. I was trying to think my way through it and figure it out, and I couldn't.
You were on autopilot.
Literally, yes, because I had to be. I didn't know what else I was supposed to be doing, and I ended up leaving. I left training camp, so I didn't I made the USA team 2 years. 3 years I tried out. 2 of those 3, I made it. The first time that I made it, I couldn't participate, or I didn't participate because we were going on our foreign tour in Notre Dame, and you only get one of those. So I was like, I don't really want to miss that. And then the second time is when it's right after my transfer. But man, yeah. So there's definitely a lot going on there. But even that summer, because of when I enrolled in Texas A&M, I couldn't go to summer school, so I was at home for the summer. Like I was in the city, and my mom every day she'd like come home from work. She'd be like, did you go outside today? Like, or did you go play basketball? I'm like, no, I didn't.
I mean, sometimes, and I think I want to just get into this now, because at what age did you recognize your mental health wasn't there? Because I feel like 5-7 years ago when this went down, how many years ago? 4, 5 years
this happened.
ago?
This was 2019.
Oh, so this was 3 years ago. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking 2017 for some, but that's when you commit. Okay.
Yeah.
2 years there. So I mean, we weren't talking about mental health then the way we talk about it now, especially post-COVID. Especially post-COVID. So for you, and I don't know if you talked about it at home, if that was a thing, when did you first realize oh man, my mental health is I'm not there?
Yeah, July 5th, the night before training camp. I told the story.
Wow.
I went outside my house. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I called my best friend. I'm crying. And mind you, this is 2 o'clock in the morning in New York City, in Harlem. Don't be outside at 2 o'clock in the morning by yourself.
No, you don't do
But
that. You don't
I'm
do
on the
that.
stoop. I'm on the stoop of my building, and I'm crying, and I can't get it together. I'm like, I cannot breathe. I cannot, like, I'm bugging. And she's like, so I finally calmed down. She's like, do you think you have anxiety? I'm like, no, I don't have anxiety. And I'm not defensive about it. I'm like, anxiety? No. But then we started talking about it more. And then even traveling that day, there was a small plane from Dallas to Colorado. And I walk into this plane and I just cry. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die in this plane, because not the plane's gonna cry. Not like that. I can't breathe. What if I can't breathe? What if I'm on this plane and I can't calm down and I can't do this and I can't do that? Panic. I'm panicking. So that night, I always marked it down as like, that was the time that I realized, like, oh, maybe I do have a little bit of anxiety, and maybe it was induced by the situation that I found myself in for a year,
100%.
that I didn't, whatever. But that's when it first started for me.
No, I mean, that's tough. And
Yeah.
I think it's interesting you say that, because I feel like, especially as kids, you see everyone around you fine, so you don't address your own problems.
Oh, no.
Right? Because it's like, well, everything's cool. Like, everyone else is cool. Like, I gotta be cool too,
I gotta be cool.
I gotta be okay too, even when you're not. And so I feel like this next generation, which is kind of crazy, because like it's only a few years difference, has a very different relationship with mental health than like we ever did. But for you, and you eventually kind of did get to campus at Texas A&M, how were you able to, I mean, I don't want to say fall back in love with it. Like, what was your relationship with basketball at that point? And how did you kind of make, because like, I mean, you had an incredible, and then we got to even talk COVID. Like, so you get 2019, you're good. And then all of a sudden, we got a lot to cover. We're just at 2019 here. So you get to campus.
I get to campus and it's lit. I'm like, oh yeah, these my people. It's my place. Kennedy Carter's on the team at this point, but Kennedy and I, she's coming to New York, and I got to tell the story. So we're in pickup. I'm telling you, when I first get there, I'm like, this is it. Like, this is what I wanted. First time around, all is good. So we playing pickup. Kennedy and I are opposite teams, and we're guarding each other. So my team has possession. It's like towards the end. And she's like, she starts talking shit. So she's like, I'm going to come down and hit this three in the game, right? And I'm like, okay. So I don't know what happens, but I think Sham had the ball at the top, and I get like a pin down. I come off. I just curl right into a three. Cash. So so everybody's like, she not going to hit the free throw. She not like that. So then hit the free throw naturally. And I just waved. But I always talk about that because those pickup sessions, like in the summer when I first got there, I'm like, wow, the music's on. It was kind of like Rucker. Like, it was that kind of closeness to basketball. It just felt so pure. There's nobody in pickup. Nobody's bothering you. Ain't nobody telling you, oh, you're not low enough in your stance, or you sprint up the court. I mean, you play hard, but you play hard because you want to play hard and it's fun. There's no pressure. There's no nothing. You just out there. You're not thinking, you're just doing. And that's how I felt, honestly. Like, so my relationship with basketball had kind of started to repair itself. I wasn't necessarily doing anything outside of playing and just being Jordan. And I don't know, it felt good. It felt good until maybe like a month and a half in. And then I started to like feel the triggers. Coach Blair would say a little something, or my teammates would do certain things. I'm like, oh God, what if I'm in the same place? I'm in Notre Dame, like, oh God. And then I started writing my waiver September 30th. And that's when it all just kind of really started going downhill.
Your waiver for...
So when you transfer, you use like you have to sit out. You're a red shirt unless they accept this waiver. And I wrote that waiver from September 30th to November 15th. So you can imagine. So I'm pulling text messages, I'm pulling screenshots, I'm pulling all kinds of things so that I can prove what happened. But I explain all of this in a limited series, but like, I had to file on egregious behavior. And nobody hit me. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't necessarily fit there, but there's no box for
No other
like
box for it to show.
Yeah.
mental whatever, like distress. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing for
Yeah.
that. But man, what a time that was.
Yeah. Wow. I can't even
And
imagine.
you almost have to like relive all of that again.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's crazy for you to talk about how like you go from kind of repairing your relationship with basketball to then a month later having to pull all of those things back out. It's like you're unpacking all of these things all over again. It's like
It's
I just thought that
horrible.
I was like over this or I'm past this or like whatever, and then
Yeah.
you still have to
Back
go
in
through
it.
that. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. No, it was
Yeah.
very trash. I wouldn't and the depth of like the mental toll is all discussed like in that series, but it was bad. Like it was dark.
Yeah.
Things got
Yeah.
dark.
Well, people don't talk about. It's funny. So I was, Jordan, a little backstory. I was a gymnast for 15 years. My dad
50?
played professionally, 15 years. My dad played professional basketball in Puerto Rico.
Oh,
So
wow.
gymnastics is a sport that is just so focused on chasing perfection, knowing you'll never achieve it, and being told every step of the way you're not good enough or you're not doing good enough, right?
Yeah.
We don't think about how that affects our minds.
Not
And
at all.
basketball has a similar, I wouldn't say it's necessarily individualistic, which is the only reason gymnastics was a little tough because you have that team, but it's still just as hard. And certain coaches sometimes don't think about how their words could impact the kids because they are kids. Let's think about that. These are kids. You're not I know like 18 is the legal. That's
still a
bullshit.
kid.
Like you're a
Still a
kid. You're
kid.
not
I'm
grown
25. I
until
still
your
feel like
brain
I'm a
until your
kid.
brain is grown. You are not grown.
Exactly.
So basketball has such a similar element to that.
Yeah.
And so you get through that process, right, of reliving all this, almost having to like explain your case, which has to be the most frustrating part of it all because it's not only that you lived it, now you have to relive it and basically convince people that it's true so that you can play basketball, which is the wildest part of this. So once you kind of finish that, where were you at mentally, with the game, with the team? Were you even ready to step back out on a court, because it sounds like even sitting out a year might not have been the worst. It might have been something that you would have welcomed a little bit at that moment.
Yeah. Honestly, when I submitted that waiver, to hell with it. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Every night, I'm sitting there crying, thinking I'm at a desk in South Bend, Indiana. It was like those mirage, like in a movie or whatever, the flashbacks. I was there. It happened. It was real. Like it was draining. It was all the things. And no, like I wasn't okay. I wasn't okay. I honestly, I hoped for the best, but I didn't think they were going to accept my waiver. I didn't. And it was too subjective, right? Like there was no proof. I didn't trust the therapists there. I get doctor-patient privilege, but I still didn't trust it. I didn't trust anything. I couldn't. It was too, everything about the situation was, so without those doctor's notes or without those visits or whatever, screenshots.
Yeah.
The fact that I stopped talking to my parents, the fact that I stopped talking to my best friend, like, it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like November through February, right? Because this is right before COVID. I was not okay. Like I talked about in the series, I talked about the weight gain. I talked about how my self-worth was gone, how I started having these really dark, destructive thoughts. Like this is self-harm. We're in that element of things. And it was bad. It was so bad. And it didn't, obviously COVID didn't help. And then losing 3 people in that time did not help. Going back to New York City where there are portable morgues and people are dying by the hundreds and et cetera, didn't help at all. But that was sophomore year. And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
Yeah,
I would, it was just, like, hell no.
And that is the other part of this that we don't talk about, right? How much COVID exacerbated people's mental health issues, right?
For sure.
I think looking at the silver lining of it, right? It did give us an opportunity to actually think about it and like as a society talk about it, exactly, which never really happened before.
That's true.
But it very much so exacerbated. And then not only that, when you're losing people to it, right?
Yeah.
And it starts making you think like, what is this game even about? Like, why am I even doing this? Like, why,
what is the point?
You start thinking, what is the point? What is the point? And so how did you kind of find post that year for your junior year to come back and play the way you did too?
Yeah.
Let's just I know we're talking a lot about the bad, but Jordan, that 2021 season, we all were there. We were all there. I cried with you when you were crying on screen with Holly Rowe. You got blood coming down your face. I'm like, you from New York. I know you are.
If somebody didn't know your story and then watching you that season, they probably would never even imagine like all the things you went through.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I talk about it again, like I laid it all on the line in that series, but as a quick synopsis. So March through May, I was down bad. Like it was Lord bad. But things started to change or look a little different for me when I went to Coney Island with my coach, like my granddad, actually. His name is Walt. He basically talked me off a ledge, and he was like, you don't see what other people see. And he was 100% correct in that. Like, I stand by that. But he started to say he was just saying, you've gotten this far. This is an opportunity. You're going to actually play this year. You spent Notre Dame was Notre Dame. Redshirt year was what it was, but you actually get to play now. And they're putting all this faith in, like, everything is kind of falling in place for you, and you're ready to walk away. Because I was ready to walk away. But I'm like, well, I'm talking about self-harm. I'm talking about all of these things that I never thought about before. And y'all telling me it's just for basketball? No way. Yeah. So when I go back, I come up with this idea for a brand. But mind you, they brought us back early. And I'm wondering, this is June 6th, we had to be back. COVID is still alive. COVID is growing. It is civil unrest. This country is on fire. And you're telling me that our gym was locked. So you couldn't even get into the gym. So we were there and we could only work out for 1 hour a day. And I'm deathly afraid of COVID at this point. Like, I don't want to go outside. Please don't be around me. I don't know what you've been doing. And half of my teammates got COVID. When I got there, 6 of them had COVID. There were 12 of us on the team. I'm like, I have to go. I have to go back to New York. I got to get out of here because I braved New York and I did not contract COVID. So that's a win. And then I come back to College Station and you're telling me I got COVID? Oh, no. That can't work.
Yeah, I want no parts of this.
Exactly. No parts. So whatever. I come up with the idea for a problem because I wanted to make a t-shirt and I love to take photos and I wanted to tell stories. So I was like, well, shit, a brand. Boom. And even that, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing all my research. I'm not telling anybody. Because I don't want to give anybody an opportunity to tell me no, to put their opinions on it, to make it, no, it was me. And I wanted it to be me because honestly, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but like, it was supposed to be my golden parachute. Like, it was supposed to be the thing that was going to carry me out of basketball. So I didn't feel trapped in it anymore. That's what it was supposed to be. But the message of it is, to be a problem is to create your bigger picture out of your broken pieces. And I felt broken by the redshirt year, broken by Notre Dame. So I'm like, well, shit, let me try to get my life together. And I felt like other people could relate to the message. So that message, though, carried me throughout my junior year because people look at my junior year and they're like, wow. And I'm like, no. It was, and I'm not saying that great things didn't come of it. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is, I was crying in the club, like every night, every day. It was a struggle. I wasn't going to finish playing that season. March wouldn't have happened. Like, I was going to leave January. It was because I couldn't conceal the distress, the weight, the burden of my emotions or whatever. I couldn't conceal it anymore. So I'm in practice and I'm like disengaged. I'm doing it. I'm doing the things, but I'm a shell of myself. And I talk about this too. Like, I went into Coach Bond's office and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help myself. And I've been reading, I've been writing, I've been going outside, I've been doing all the things and it's not working. I don't know what to do. And she's like, I see it. So I'm like, well, damn, because I'd spent my sophomore year and part of my junior year keeping it, like holding it. Nobody would ever know that I was hurting because I would come into practice every day. Hey, how's everybody doing? What's the vibes? Coach Blair literally called me happy-go-lucky. I am not a happy-go-lucky person, but that I overcompensated. So I was so low. So when I got outside, I was so high. And I'm like, I'm positive. I'm just, I'm all over the place. That's not me at all. But you could see how that would drain you. So when I walked into my house, there were days I felt like I was so tired. Like I couldn't even open my mouth. Like I didn't answer the phone. I didn't do any of that. I just couldn't, I had nothing else to give. So junior year, so January is when this conversation happened. And I'm like, well, I've worked too hard. The hard part's over. I'm the starting point guard. I'm just going to give all of that up for what? What happens after that? I still got senior year. I still have multiple years of eligibility. I'm just going to stop now? Like, what's supposed to come of that? So fast forward, we win the regular season championship against South Carolina. My bloody face is all over the internet for whatever reason. We go into postseason play, like all the craziness. We go into the bubble. I'm terrified because I'm like, I can't be trapped in a hotel. What are y'all talking about? March 24th happens, all the things, but be a problem, shake the world is the tagline. But a problem, it carried me. New York tough after the first game winner against Arkansas. That's what the announcer said. New York tough, a problem, simultaneously carried me through that season that I didn't think I could make it through.
Wow. It's so beautiful to hear you talk about something that is so dark, but trying to find the light within it.
Yeah.
Thanks. And again, like you mentioned, you're seen as a problem. You feel like a problem. Everything feels like a problem. But at the end of the day, a problem is like exactly what you meant, an opportunity to, put the broken pieces together in a new way. And I want to talk a little bit about that article for you because it happened right after that season and that year. What did that mean to you when you were asked or pitched or whichever way it went about it? What was that article to you? What did it mean when you wrote that?
So the Undefeated article was actually, it came so September of my senior year, I stopped all basketball related activity. Like I guess I told them, but they granted me that space because I didn't know how else to help myself because I was, again, not okay. I got through that. I scraped and clawed through that last season. And I'm like, I don't think I could go back for another one. Like, I don't think I could do that again because I didn't think I would make it through that one. So what makes me think I can make it through another one? Doesn't make any sense. So September happens. And in that time, I'm trying to figure something out because I'm supposed to graduate in December. And I'm like, well, I need to try to get a foot in the door as far as media is concerned. And Jesse Washington, who co-wrote John Thompson's book, he actually followed me on Twitter because after I wrote Thick about like body image, it was a personal essay. And I'm like, man, let me hit him up, ask him, like pick his brain. So then he was like, send me some pitches. I'm like, all right, like, okay. So further down the line, we get an editor. It's like, okay, well, let's build something. Let's make this a thing. So the challenge was summarize these last 4 years in however many words. I'm like, okay. But to have that opportunity was just incredible. And that my senior year was about doing what I wanted to do. Like if I was going to come back and play basketball, I needed to write. I needed to be in media. So I started an interview series. I started writing for the opinion desk of the school newspaper. I was writing I wrote for the Undefeated, or I wrote for these different platforms because I needed to help myself. And those were the only things that made me feel alive, that made me feel like this is what I should be doing, that made me feel aligned. So that day, I don't even remember the date, honestly, but the day that an ESPN alert came across my screen that said Jordan Nixon, Texas A&M women's basketball player, I guess, in her own words. Everybody who subscribes to ESPN got that notification. Like, are you kidding? That's lit. That is incredible. That is so fire. And it was just like, wow, telling my story on a platform as big as ESPN or like the Undefeated? Come on. That's it meant everything to me, honestly. Like I still have the screenshots, still the videos, all the things. I'm like, I post on Instagram, the price just went up because it definitely did. But it was incredible.
Yeah. Was it therapy for you? I mean, it's a long and very detailed and very personal piece. I think so many people are terrified to get that personal and real with people, like talking like the real things that people they go through all the time, but they just don't like address them.
Want to talk about it, yeah.
They don't want to talk about it, right? So like, was it therapy for you? And how did you, because it's almost a little like reliving it a third time. You know, you did it one time, but now you're reliving it, but in your words and in your with your heart in it. So was it therapy, and how did that kind of help you guide you into now this new chapter, you know, in life without basketball?
Yeah. So at that point, I talked about it enough in a way. So when I wrote, there was a build up to that, because after that season, after, you know, junior season, the season, I wrote personal essays. So like I talked about, in the first one, it was called Thick, but it was about body image and my struggles with it. And then 2, I wrote In the Thick, like in the thick of it, I didn't think I could last. Basically, it was the premise. And that was about mental health. So those are my secrets. I held on to those with everything that I had. And once I let them go, it was like, oh no, I got some more shit to say. So when I wrote that Undefeated article, telling my story and being candid about what I felt, what I went through, climbing out of that hole that I dug for myself, all of those things, it was second nature at that point. So I was like, okay, you want the whole story? Bet. Challenge accepted. Like I wasn't worried about it, because I believe in that. I believe in transparency. Like that is one of the things that I value in my friendships, my relationships, just me, how I carry myself. I'm going to be transparent with you. I don't want to hide anymore. I spent way too much time doing that, and the only thing it did was drag me down. So I'm not doing it anymore. So yeah.
No, 100%.
I think that your story is so inspiring. I mean, we've basically gone through it all, and I know you summarized a lot of it, but when we first started talking about it, and you were talking about your experiences at Notre Dame, and you were talking about, you know, how people were looking at you and how you felt and how you knew who you were and how you felt, but how other people were kind of portraying it, or, you know, writing your own story for themselves, but about you. So for you to kind of get to this point in life now where like you've been able to tell your own story on your own, in your own words, on a platform like that, I think that it just opens up that door for so many more people to be vulnerable, to be able to share those experiences and just talk about it in just raw, like giving it to them straight how
what
it
is.
is. Yeah, literally. Because I feel like stories like yours, like that's the only way that people kind of feel like basically validating what they're going through, because it's like somebody else is going through something just like I am, and they got to this point and they overcame that. And so I just feel like that's the first thing I thought about when you said like the storyline came up on your phone and you're in her own words. And I remember you talking about, you know, how you felt like your story was being told and not your way. I'm like, that is just so inspiring. And it's so important to not only the game of basketball, like it's bigger than basketball, but like just in life. Yeah.
No, I agree. I definitely agree.
And now that you've kind of reached this journey point, right? You're viewing forward to what's next for Jordan Nixon. What are these interests that you've started applying in different ways, shapes, or forms that we can see and expect more of?
So that was the second part of your question I completely forgot about. But to bounce off of what you just said, that's what stories are. I want to tell stories. That's what I want to do. So if that's writing, if that's like photojournalism, whatever, like I want it to be all the things, honestly, video, whatever. Stories have a unique way of connecting us. They have a unique way of impacting us. So if I can tell my story, and that's why I started talking. That's why I talked about thick and how much I hate that damn word. That's why I started talking about my struggles with mental health. Because if somebody can hear my story, if I could affect one person, I was doing a great thing. And that's all that mattered to me. So I posted it and then threw my phone because, oh my gosh, what? Like I'm exposing myself to the world, but it needed to happen. Because then I had people around me. They're like, oh my gosh, yeah, what you said. So somebody can hear my story and feel like, damn, I'm in a ghetto mentally right now, but I can still make some shit happen, right? Like turn your pain into your power, turn your dark into your light, or whatever that transition looks like for people. I did it, so you can do it too. But I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. I'm going to detail it in full color, so you can glean whatever you need to glean from it. But that's what I want to do. I want to tell stories, and this summer has been all about that. And that's why I created the limited series. I literally interviewed myself. You know how weird that is? Like, it's just, but it came out really nice. I can't lie.
That's awesome.
But that I wanted to tell my story in a way that I hadn't before with that video kind of, there's something about visuals. Visuals are so important because you can have
Yeah.
text, it'll impact you. You can have, just a photo, but to put it together, that's a full experience. And that's exactly what I wanted. But I've done some writing. I did some writing for you guys, like that kind of thing. I just want to talk. I have too much to say to hold it in. And
I think you have that mind that thinks about things the way people can't express.
Yes.
Does that
put it
make
into
sense?
words for them almost.
Yes.
Like I was going to say that,
you.
but I couldn't figure out how to.
Right. Like it's just, well, it's the writing thing, the writing gene. But but seriously, because it's something that, like, I swear, sometimes I feel things or I think, but I don't know how to express them. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then when I hear it, I'm like, that's what I'm trying to figure. Like, that's what I meant.
That.
And it's, you have that ability to do that. And I kind of just want to close it out with this. Now that you've entered this new chapter for yourself in life without basketball, what is your relationship with basketball now? Almost like it's not the primary focus of your life.
Yeah.
Has it gotten better? Is it something that you can love from a distance, without needing to be in the weeds of it every single day?
No, it definitely is. That what you just said, like, I mean, I had knee surgery because I played my senior season injured, and that was I didn't even talk about that, but oh my gosh. I literally wrote an article. It was like, Jordan Nixon is dead, right? Because I didn't, the me from my junior year wasn't there anymore. She was gone. I couldn't be who I was on one leg. That's what it felt like, but I did beat myself in a lot of ways, but either way. Basketball, I don't hate it. And I didn't know that. I thought I hated it. I thought it was just this thing that was plaguing me, that brought me all this just stress and trauma and anger and frustration and blah, blah, blah. But I love basketball. Basketball is so fun. I'm thinking back to those days, we playing pickup in the gym, music blasting. I love that. I love the freedom of it. I love the artistry of it, the creativity, all those things. But no, I don't have to be in the weeds of it to appreciate it. I could go outside. Well, when my knee it's getting better, but it's not there yet. When my knee is where it needs to be, I'll go outside and just do moves and do whatever and just be, because I have that liberty now. I could just be. I can enjoy it. Nobody's yelling at me. Nobody's telling me what I'm not. Nobody's telling me, well, you didn't do this, or she's better at you and did it. I don't hear it. I don't care. I just want to play. I just want to shoot. I work too hard to. Honestly, the way that I see myself in basketball now is training, like just teaching people what I know. Because the way that I had to approach basketball, I'm not some generational talent, some like freak athlete. I don't really like the word freak, but just for lack of a better word, freak athlete or whatever. No, I built me. The people who invested in me built me. I feel like I was made in a factory or something, like just in the sense of like, we're constantly tweaking and, trying to figure this out and trying to make it fit me. Cause I'm not the fastest. I'm not the tallest. I'm not the strongest. I'm none of those things, but I make it work. And the skill level that I have, I feel like it's different. Like there are people ask me how I do moves. And now granted, I didn't put all those moves on display all the time, but they're in the bag. The bag is deep. Like the bag goes deep.
Period.
We know that.
Period.
But I feel like I can if I can distribute that information to people, because Walt has taught me everything I know, pretty much. Like if I could give that to people, I'm doing a good thing. If I could share and spread information, yeah, that's good for me.
I think "I built me's" got to be your next headline for your next article or short. I built me. Yeah. Listen, that's tough. That's facts.
Thank
that's
you.
Facts.
Jordan, I gotta write it down.
Yeah, you gotta write that one down.
I don't forget. Yeah.
Well, Jordan, thank you so much for joining us today. What a special conversation, insightful. So many.
Thank you.
Gems were dropped.
I was gonna say you dropped so many gems.
Dropped.
I don't know how we're gonna choose highlights.
Gems, like all of that. Just like your highlights, exactly. A mixtape full of gems. Jordan, thank you so much, and we're so excited to see wherever this next chapter leads you. And we're gonna, likely be a part of it as well.
Yes.
WSLAM. So keep up the people.
But thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure, and I'm so glad I was on this show. It just made my day. I was not having a good day, but this definitely brightened it up. So thank you guys.
Well, we're here to do that.
Yes.
We're here to exactly. We call this the girls' room. Like when me and Jay, most of the time we're on the struggle bus when we get on here, and we just like let it all out.
So if you were on the struggle bus today, don't feel bad because literally that's us every single day when we get on here. It's always something.
Good. We on
So welcome to the girls'
together.
room. Yes, we're all in this together. Welcome to the girls' room.
Thank you.
Room.